President Donald Trump gives his joint address to Congress, breaking a record of being the longest time a president has spoken to both houses of the United States Congress. It was a speech that had a lot of highs and lows in terms of the emotional impact. And I want you to look at, courtesy of the Wall Street Journal, the top 5 moments from that speech that made headlines.
The golden age of America has only just begun.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions.
In that speech, a Democrat representative from Houston, Texas, was removed for outburst and then later censored, I believe, 2 or so days after that exchange in the chambers of Congress.
Decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant at Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Trump touts also Doge, thanks Elon Musk for those cost-cutting efforts, list off a number of things that the administration believes money, taxpayer money, is being wasted on.
Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that.
Trump also touts immigration crackdown, calling it the great liberation of America.
Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America.
Trump defends and previews reciprocal tariffs, and those actions he's taking, he believes, will help the economy. Those are set to start April 2nd. There's been a back and forth between Mexico and Canada, and a little bit of back and forth between China, but more so Mexico and Canada as it concerns those reciprocal tariffs.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them.
Number 5, the top 5 moments from Trump's joint address to Congress. Trump reiterated and heralded the golden age, what he calls the golden age of America, while honoring several different types of Americans, including a young child, a 13-year-old boy, who had 13 different surgeries for brain cancer, making him an honorary member of the United States Secret Service.
We are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit, and we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
The Democrats' response, some have different reactions. Some say it was ineffective. Others say, it's just the beginning as Democrats try to find their footing after the election loss in November. They held up paddles. They walked out. Those are the top 5 moments from Trump's joint address to Congress. Welcome to the Weekly Brief, moderated by me, Jay Shakur. I wanted to dive deeper into other stories. I think at this point in the week, everyone's well aware of the State of the Union, what it means, what happened, what was said. So those were the top 5 moments, again, courtesy of the Wall Street Journal, that I wanted to share with you all. But there's another story that's extremely heartbreaking, and it has a place, especially for me being a graduate of an HBCU. A Southern University fraternity pledge died. And now a person, at least one individual, we're expecting more charges, at least one other person is charged in that death. We'll look at this article from the AP. Southern University student's death being investigated as a possible act of fraternity hazing. Let's read this. This is coming out of Baton Rouge. The death of a 20-year-old Southern University student in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, is being investigated by local law enforcement as a possible act of fraternity hazing. School authorities confirmed that to the Associated Press on Wednesday. Caleb Wilson, who died on February 27th, was a mechanical engineering junior at Southern University and A&M College and a member of the school's famed marching band. I was also a member of my high school's marching band. A lot of personal connections to this particular story. I wanted to pledge. I didn't. And we're going to get into at another date, not today, but on another date, my thoughts on pledging, particularly a Christian pledging. But that's not the topic of this particular story. Chancellor John K. Pierre said in the statement shared on the college's Facebook page that an off-campus incident is believed to have contributed to Caleb's death. A university spokesperson confirmed on Wednesday that an alleged fraternity ritual involving Omega Psi Phi is being investigated. Ricky L. Lewis, the international president of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Inc., said in a written statement issued on Friday that the organization is aware that authorities have launched an investigation into the tragic incident, and we fully support their efforts to seek the truth. We recognize many of you may have questions, he says, and we are actively working to gather accurate information. It was unclear if Wilson was a fraternity member. And I think the AP writing this, they don't understand the ins and outs of how this fraternity process works. I think it appears that he was pledging. So when you're in these fraternities, and this is what really can get dangerous. When you're in these fraternities, you go through a process, right? There's certain rules, certain things, and a lot of people join these fraternities for a sense of belonging, a sense of being, a sense of place and community. And I was one of those people that wanted to join a fraternity. I won't say the name, but I was actively pursuing, and I even pursued it after college. So you can do so it's called the grad chapter. You can do so after college. And some of the stories I've heard made me a bit skeptical. And this incident appears to be extremely, extremely severe. I want to share reporting from Fox 4 in Dallas, where one of the suspects arrested in this murder is from. Let's look.
A wily man was arrested in Louisiana, charged with the death of a fraternity pledge during a hazing ritual. Now, according to Baton Rouge police, Caleb McCrae was one of 3 men who, while wearing boxing gloves, punched pledges in the chest multiple times. Caleb Wilson, a member of Southern University's marching band, collapsed, had a seizure, and ultimately died. More arrests are even coming. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager live tonight with an update on the investigation. Hi, Peyton.
Hi, Casey. And Caleb McCrae, we know he turned himself into Baton Rouge police last night along with his attorney. And today, Casey, we learned that he's from Wiley and graduated from Wiley ISD in 2019. And in Louisiana, hazing can be a felony. And we also learned at the press conference today from Baton Rouge police, they've identified at least 2 additional suspects. They say they're working with them and they hope to have those arrests as early as this weekend. 23-year-old Caleb McCrae of Wiley is now charged with felony criminal hazing and manslaughter. Investigators say McCrae is the first arrest connected to the death of a 20-year-old Southern University student after an off-campus fraternity hazing ritual.
Detectives have interviewed over a dozen people and executed multiple search warrants to gather as much information as possible.
Friday, Baton Rouge police provided the arrest update at a press conference. In the early morning hours of February 26th, junior engineering student and marching band member Caleb Wilson was dropped off at the emergency room by a group of men who stated he collapsed while playing basketball.
Now, that was the original story that came out. I want y'all to pay close attention to that. That was the original story that came out of all of this. They dropped him off saying he was collapsed while playing basketball. Outright lie. And the reporting she's going to bear that out in her reporting. Outright lie. You only lie, in my humble view, if you have something to cover up. Let's watch.
The group left before officers arrived at the hospital.
Caleb Wilson died as a direct result of a hazing incident where he was punched in the chest multiple times while pledging to Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Detectives learned the basketball story was a lie. Instead, according to an arrest warrant affidavit Fox 4 obtained on Friday, Wilson and 8 other pledges arrived to a warehouse and changed into gray sweatpants. Police say they stood in a line and were each punched 4 times with boxing gloves by at least 3 individuals, one of them being fraternity member and recent Southern University graduate Caleb McCrae. The report states Wilson appeared to suffer a seizure and lose control of his bodily function. Police add Wilson's clothing was changed prior to his arrival at the hospital, where he later died.
Wow.
A loss that has deeply hurt the Southern University campus, especially the school's famous marching band, the Human Jukebox.
That is extremely, extremely tragic. With this story, you have a lot of questions that come up, right? What do we do when it comes to these fraternities? How do we regulate? You know, there are certain laws that do regulate them. And as she mentioned, that the law that makes this type of hazing potentially a felony. There has to be some type of oversight, I think, in the pledging process from adults, meaning adults who don't have a vested interest in the fraternity. And I get that kind of probably blows into the face of the notion of the secret society type thing. But there has to be. There are tons of stories of people who didn't, thank God, didn't die like this young guy. There are tons of stories out there where it was horrible. It was a bad situation, but they didn't die. It shouldn't get to even the point of just being injured. It shouldn't get to the point of anything other than, if I want to join, if, it's a free country, do what you want. If I want to join a particular fraternity, I go through a process that doesn't involve that type of dehumanization, is really what it is.
Wilson played the trumpet. This week, the university's band held a vigil honoring him, hoping to lift up Wilson's family with love and support.
McCrae's attorney sent Fox 4 a statement this afternoon saying he maintains his client's innocence and he's still reviewing all of the evidence. Meanwhile, Southern University also put out a statement today saying that it's pausing membership intake for all campus organizations while multiple investigations move forward.
All right. That is that story. It's still developing. It is believed that more people will be arrested in that case. You saw there, it was mentioned quite directly. You saw there that they believe multiple people arrived at this warehouse where they line these pledges up and begin punching them. Whatever process that is, whatever they do, however they do that, we'll learn more about that in the days, I'm sure, and in the weeks to come. All right, this next story here is something you won't hear a lot about in the traditional media. Let's start off with just watching this video. Warning, it is a bit graphic. What you're seeing here is what's believed to be the dead bodies of religious minorities, mainly Christians, in Syria. Syria is experiencing its deadliest period since the ousting of longtime President Bashar al-Assad 3 months ago, as clashes have erupted between government forces and pro-al-Assad fighters this week, leaving hundreds of civilians and fighters dead. This is coming from Newsweek. Since Thursday, more than 1,000 people, including Christian minorities and Alawites, the sect of Muslims to which al-Assad belongs, have been killed, according to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights and local reports. Newsweek has reached out to Syria's permanent representative to the United Nations and Syria's Ministry of Information for comment via email. They haven't heard back yet. The death toll from clashes that began late this week between security forces and al-Assad loyalists, as well as subsequent revenge killings, has climbed to more than 1,000, according to that organization. As we mentioned, a war monitoring group mentioned that. Syria's interim president, Ahmed al-Shara, and I may be mispronouncing that, has vowed that the new government will respect all communities and affiliations. He is working to gain international legitimacy and has recently met with regional leaders. However, this intense violence could undermine those efforts. Syria has been mired in conflict for more than a decade, with the Syrian civil war beginning in 2011, which included widespread human rights violations, sectarian violence, mass killings, and the displacement, as well as intense battles against ISIS factions. The recent fatal clashes mark the worst violence since al-Assad was thrown out, with high casualties reported among religious minorities, as I mentioned, Christians. It is extremely disheartening to see this. And I want to say this coming to you as a Christian. I'm a Christian. I was born and raised in church, but I was actually legitimately, in my view, saved at 9 years old. And watching this type of watching this as a Christian, it makes me grateful to live in the United States of America. I'm just going to be honest with you. We don't have to deal with that, at least not on that scale, where our life is literally threatened and the bodies of our brothers and sisters in Christ lay out on the streets. The key here is that this is the deadliest and most violent Syria has been in a very long time since Bashar al-Assad was overthrown 3 months ago. There are a lot of people commenting on about why that is, what that means. But one thing is a fact. Christians are being killed for no other reason other than them being Christians. It's a sad tale that I pray to God we are able to get a handle of. It is, I don't know how or who or what intervenes. I don't get it. I don't know. But something has to, in my view, be done. I just don't know what that is. To the American Christian, we have it good. Let's use the freedom we have here in this country, in this place. Let's use that freedom to preach, to share, to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let's recommit ourselves to the book, to the Bible. And let's not forget that the persecution we read of in Acts and in the epistles and in the New Testament and all throughout the Bible of Christians is not something of a bygone era that we won't ever see again. It's happening today, currently. And the tragedy in Syria is the latest example of that. Something I think probably could be lessened, but not totally avoided. How and why, I'll leave it up to other people. But that's a story we will be following. Story I will be following and bringing you the latest on here on the Weekly Brief. All right, let's move to this next story. Some of y'all gonna hate me, but it's okay. I understand. It's okay. Y'all could hate me. Y'all could hate me. Y'all could hate me. LeBron James rages at Stephen A. Smith as Bronny's NBA performance is questioned. This is Shakur's take, the portion where I give my opinion. And those a part of the LeBron cult may not like my opinion. But the younger James, that's Bronny, ain't ready. Stop forcing it. You can read my full thoughts or my full column, or whatever you want to call it, opinion piece at jshakur.substack.com. Subscribe if you haven't to my Substack. Please do that. LeBron James' insistence that his son enter the NBA, all right, simply to make history could destroy the younger James. Bronny, it could destroy him. It's an exercise in pride, not the historic legacy LeBron has so forcefully pushed on the NBA. If you're not familiar with what has happened, I want to catch you all up to speed. Stephen A. Smith has made several comments about multiple times, has critiqued multiple times Bronny's performance as it concerns him playing in the NBA. I want to play that for you now.
Now let's go to Philadelphia, where Bronny James last night played his most minutes by far in an NBA game last night as the Lakers lost to the 76ers 118-104. Bronny was held scoreless in 15 minutes and struggled guarding Sixers star Tyrese Maxey. Before I get to my thoughts, please take a listen to Coach J.J. Redick and what he had to say about Bronny's performance last night. Take a listen.
I maybe put him in a tough spot, flying up yesterday and, nationally televised game and Philly, all that stuff. It's, he didn't play well, but he's been playing great, in the Stay Ready games, and he's been playing great in the G.
You know, I was on First Take, my day job on ESPN earlier this morning, and I spoke about this, and I felt the need to elaborate even further because
the coach right there said he played better in the G League. That's where he should be.
A couple of people text me and pissed me off, and they know who they are. People close to LeBron James talking to me about questioning him as a father. Come on, y'all. I mean, it's gotten to a point where this LeBron sensitivity is just beyond the pale. You call him the second best player in the history of the game, you're insulting him because you said he's not the GOAT. You're saying that.
And in this video, he goes on and he essentially says, he pleads, and this is not the first time on his podcast that he did it before, as he mentioned on his day job at First Take for ESPN. And he's essentially saying, hey, bruh, he's not ready. And I'm gonna go back and play that. But he's essentially saying, bruh, he's not ready to play in the NBA. He should be in the G League until he is at least ready. And I'm gonna give y'all some history about LeBron and Bronny and let you all critique it and what y'all think. But it's no way, in my view, Bronny should be in the NBA. It's no way. It's no way. And if he had any other name other than the last name of James, he would not be in the NBA. Period. End of story. Let's listen to some more of the comments that presumably triggered Mr. LeBron James. Listen to this. Let's listen to this.
LeBron has forgotten more basketball than most people would know. So no matter what we think about Bronny, he knows more. But you see what you see. Bronny James has played in 13 NBA games. Ladies and gentlemen, he's averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. He shot 1 for 16 from the field in his NBA career and 0 for 7 from three-point range. And he's playing in the first quarter of an NBA game?
Because his dad is LeBron James.
Really? And everybody wants to look at it, and LeBron has nothing to do with that. He didn't tell J.J. Redick to put him in the game. I get all that. But come on.
He told the Lakers
to
put
cruel to Bron.
He told the Lakers to put his son on the team. He may not told him to put him in that particular game, but he told him to put him on the team. Like, bruh.
Do you want it this way, LeBron? Do you want it this way, Rich Paul?
He's talking directly to LeBron, not Bronny. He's talking directly to LeBron, who put Bronny in this situation.
LeBron's son, you know how they're going to judge him. And before anybody wants to jump on me, remember, I never saw Bronny James play until he showed up in the NBA and the G League. I refused to watch him because if I watched him, I would have to talk about him. And I didn't want to talk about LeBron James' son because I thought it was so unfair to the kid. He's such a wonderful kid. Wonderful family. I don't want to hear me talking about questioning LeBron James' fatherhood. How many times do I have to rave about LeBron James?
He says he's not questioning his fatherhood. Cool, that's nice, that's cute. But let's look at a brief history of the not-so-star player, Bronny James. Bronny averaged around 14 points per game at the high school level. For comparison, his father, LeBron James, who forced him in the league, by the way, in my humble opinion, averaged 31.6 points in his senior year of high school. Perhaps that's why LeBron was drafted right away into the NBA, because he got 31.6 points. Anyway, Kobe Bryant, for comparison, averaged 30.8 points in high school. Kyrie Irving, 26.5 points per game. And Michael Jordan, 25 points per game. Beyond high school, Bronny played just one season at the University of Southern California, USC, where he had a cardiac incident. While there, he averaged less than 5 points per game in his lone season at USC, at the collegiate level, he averaged less than 5 points per game. Now, I'm not some basketball savant. You know, my hand-eye coordination is not there. I barely drive. But averaging 5 points per game was apparently all the NBA needed to see to draft him. In 2024, Bronny signed a 4-year, $7.9 million contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. He was the 55th pick of the NBA draft that year. On January 28th, 2025, of which that clip I showed you of Stephen A. talking was him reacting to that game and others, because it ain't just one game. Bronny played alongside his father against the Philadelphia 76ers. He played for 15 minutes straight. 15 minutes straight, Bronny played. Did not score a single point. Not 1 point. His continued performances like this is what led to Smith's commentary. My question is this. LeBron James is approaching Stephen A. Smith courtside, saying essentially, keep my son out of this stuff. And a cuss word is there. Blah, blah, blah. It's heated, blah, blah. Video goes viral. My question to Mr. LeBron James, who put his son in this position, is, while it is admirable to protect and defend your son. That's what good fathers do. That's what they do. If you do not protect your son in the way that a father should, something's wrong. In fact, protection is a chief responsibility, a core duty of any true father, of any true dad. But when does this so-called protection become toxic? It is you, LeBron. I'm going to find the exact quote. It is you, LeBron, who said, and I want to quote you because I don't want to become, out of order here. Let me find this quote. He said, telling the franchise before the draft, when Bronny came in as the 55th pick, he told the franchise, "You want to keep me." This is exact quote. "You want me," meaning you want to keep me. "You want me, draft Bronny." The arrogance. That's crazy work, as the young people, as we say now. The arrogance. The arrogance to say you want to keep me, draft Bronny. And the same day his contract was renewed with the Lakers was the same day that they announced Bronny being drafted. This is what I call the veneer of protection. And it's toxic. You wanted your son to play with the big boys, although he's nothing too hot. He's not a star player. He belongs in the G League. You wanted your son to play with the big boys. And remove the sports from it, not averaging, not earning a single point in 15 minutes of a game. Ignore that. Let's just ignore that, right? Play in the first quarter, although you average 5 points. Let's ignore all that. Let's look at this from an ethical standpoint, from a fatherhood standpoint. My question is, was this LeBron James's dream, or was it Bronny James's dream? And at the end of the day, you wanted your son to play with the big boys. That's what you wanted. So he should be able to handle some big boy criticism, especially when he plays 15 minutes straight and doesn't score a single point. He should be able to handle some big boy criticism. It's a toxic paternalism that could potentially end up destroying Bronny. Imagine the pressure, the anxiety. Your father being, in my opinion, one of the greats. He's not the great, but he's one of the greats. Imagine the pressure of having to live up to that standard, and then your father telling the league, telling the franchise, if you do not draft my son, you don't get me, in essence. And then they do it. The purest definition of nepotism, right? That's a prime example there. And then he does not live up to that standard. Fathers don't act like that. Fathers do not put unrealistic expectations on their children, nor do they put their children in situations where they are vulnerable to this extent. Meaning, if your son ain't ready for the NBA, the G League will be just fine. But all because of some prideful pursuit to be able to say that I was the first basketball player to play with my son in the NBA, you wanted to go this course. And people ask me why I don't like LeBron. This is one of the real reasons why I don't care for him as a player. You can only imagine the anxiety, the angst, the fear that Bronny is experiencing because of his father. I think it's quite sad. And then to react that way to a sports commentator giving his commentary, that's Stephen A's job to give his commentary. Do I agree with everything Stephen A say? No. But that's his job. That ain't my job. I'm not a sports commentator. The only reason I'm talking about this is because of the fatherhood aspect of this story. And I think it's newsworthy. But I'm not a sports commentator. I can't give you play-by-play. I can't do that. But that's Stephen A's job. And all Stephen A said was, why did you push him into the NBA when he's not ready for the NBA? Like, why? 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 It's quite, the ordeal is quite sad. My hope, not for LeBron James, because he's full of himself. My hope for Bronny James is that he gets the courage to do what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, independent of his father. And if that's staying in the NBA and not playing for the Lakers, then so be it. Or if that's leaving the NBA, going back to the G League at some point, working on your skills, working on your craft, and then coming back and showing people why you deserve to be there. Whatever it is, I hope and pray he gets the courage to do what's right beyond the prideful, selfish pursuits of his father, who I don't doubt loves him. And one of the things I do like about LeBron James is his, how do I say this? His ability and his dedication to, I should say, his family. So I'm not questioning that. I'm saying this was a horrible, horrible decision. And 2 more points. Where are the leaders in the NBA that have the courage to say, LeBron James, you're a great player, one of the greats. Your son, he ain't there yet. Where are they? No one has the courage. No one has the guts to do it. People should be asking why that is. Number 2, or my final point here, what about the hundreds of young boys that have the dreams of being where Bronny is and actually play better than Bronny that have gotten overlooked because the billionaire's son needed a spot? What about them? What about them? What about them? You see the impact that selfishness and pride has, not only on your immediate family, but others. What about them? Because that 55th pick in the draft that was Bronny James that year could have been some boy from the west side of Chicago. Thank y'all for listening to All Things Jay Shakur, be it Jay Shakur Uncensored, my long-form talk interview podcast, or the weekly brief where I bring you the news, not just the stories you know, but the stories you need to know. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share to this YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching or listening on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe, share this with others. Thank y'all for watching.